Hey everybody, day 5 here. We're going to continue to expand on PAILs and RAILs and trying to create more workspace in the joint. Apologies for missing my morning cutoff. We have about 700 square feet here, so we're learning how, Cal and I are learning how to kind of share the space together. So she's busy trying to get set up for work, potentially next week. Looks like they're going to maybe be like an emergency daycare for parents that have jobs deemed essential. So she's trying to get that taken care of, doing a great job. So here I am, maybe a good time for a lunch break to get you guys moving. So quick review on PAILs and RAILs. So think about that wine bottle visual, where as that kind of joint capsule or the cellophane, as that shrinks down and gets tight, there's really not a lot of room for the bones to kind of move on each other. So we want to work to kind of expand that capsule a little bit more and create some more space so those bones can kind of move along each other better. So now comes the part where we really have to focus on active inputs. So you probably quickly noticed just how kind of demanding this is. If you're cramping or getting sore from this stuff, you don't really cramp when you stretch. When you're passive, your nervous system doesn't really care. Like, you do it, maybe you feel better for a little bit. That's just kind of the stretch reflex, but you're just going to go tighten back up after that. So, so your nervous system interprets active inputs a lot more when it senses those muscles shortening, when it feels kind of all the connective tissue doing its work. There's little receptors along the muscles and in the connective tissue and in that joint capsule itself. They're really dense. When it feels that stuff shortening, moving, controlling action, it really kind of records what's going on versus just a passive stretch. So now we really need to focus on active inputs because we've hopefully created a little more room to move. Now we need to actively use that room to kind of coach our brain and our nervous system on, this is good space. This is where this is okay to move in this spot. So today we're going to cover what are called passive range holds. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to actively find your end range in some direction in the hip. You're going to manually kind of grab your leg, grab your your hip, and move it a little beyond that active range that you have, and then basically ask yourself to hold that new position. So obviously I'll show you everything I'm talking about. Today we're just going to work on hip flexion and external rotation. I'll throw 4 different options at you. Tomorrow we'll come back and do the same idea for hip flexion and internal rotation. So as you might have guessed, now's the time when we need to do cars and we need to do PAILs and RAILs. So we can't, if we haven't expanded that little bit of extra room, it's going to be tough to ask ourselves to try to control extra space. So go ahead and pause right now. Get your cars in, get your PAILs and RAILs in. Feel free to go back to the other videos. Day 1 and 2 were cars and car modifications. Day 3 and 4 are PAILs and RAILs modifications. Get those done. Come on back when you're ready, and we're going to kind of utilize and really own this new space so that it kind of becomes readily available to you. Okay, so passive range holds. So like I said, the idea is you're going to actively show your kind of your nervous system where the limit is, move yourself beyond it, and then just hold that position. So this should be extremely demanding. You're going to watch me basically lay or kneel or stand and not really move. Trust me, I'm working as hard as I possibly can just to hold my limb in that position. So first one's the easiest one. We're just going to do supine. Feel free to either pause and try it or watch all 4 and then kind of do all 4. I'll start with the easiest and then kind of progress to the toughest. Don't just jump to the toughest because I'd rather you do the easiest and nail it and then move on. Now is the time to be really brutally honest kind of with yourself, with your movements, and with your control. You've done all this good work with cars and PAILs and RAILs. Now you need to be really honest with owning this space. If we're trying to get the most positive input into our nervous system, we can't cheat on anything right now because then we're just sending fuzzy, junky inputs to it. We want good, pure, only hip control movements. So first one, like I said, we'll do supine. So all of these are going to look pretty similar to the car in some fashion. So, all right, so I'm going to come up into flexion and external rotation. So here's my active range active range limit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull myself into a little bit more flexion and external rotation. I'm going to brace my other leg, slowly release and hold this position. So I'm working extremely hard to keep this hip externally rotated. So for me, I can hold this position a fairly long time. Once I eventually tire out, I'm going to start losing that external rotation, and I'll just slowly bring my leg to the floor. So to repeat, I show myself active end range, I pull into a little further, let go and hold that position. So get your whole body braced, squeezing everything. When you start losing it, we'll lower the limb. So that's the supine position. Feel free to stop and give it a try. Second position, we'll just need a pillow or something to rest your top leg on. Bottom leg, we'll get into flexion. Again, I'm going to actively show myself. Oh, get a better view here. I'm going to actively show myself end range of motion. So I don't have a ton of external rotation. So here's my end range. I'm going to brace my upper body. I'm going to add to the end range and hold that in place. So I'm going to hold. If I feel cheating from a different joint, or I really start to lose control, or this foot starts to sink, I'm just going to control it down. So again, show myself end range. So notice I can't move it further, but when I move it further, I can hold it. So that's what we're going for here. And we'll slowly release. It's option 2. Option 3, we're going to come to half kneeling. All right, so I want you to get something to grab onto for this. This is the chair that Baylor likes to shred for us. Thank you, Baylor. So I'm going to use this to brace my body because I can't have you worrying about balancing here. So just like normal half kneeling, this side glute is squeezing and pressing. I'm going to get nice and tall, hug up close to the chair. So I show my active end range. I'm going to add to it. Hold. Squeeze and hold. So when I start cheating from a different joint, or I lose this external rotation, I'm going to control down. Show you one more. So show myself my active end range. I add to it. Trying to keep this foot as high as I can. I eventually lose it and let go. Last one is standing. All right, so standing. It's going to look the same. I brace, show myself my active end range, add to it, stay tall. Here's where you'll feel the most amount of cheating from different joints or from leaning. So be very strict. Hold this as best you can. When you lose it, start shaking. We'll control down. Okay. So I know it doesn't look like much, but I'm winded over here. Again, it's important to be very strict with this stuff. Let me catch my breath a little bit. As far as reps, basically think of them in terms of time. If you can hold the rep for like 1 to 5 seconds before you start cheating or not being able to control the limb, go for like 6 to 10 reps. If you can hold for 5 to 10 seconds, think maybe 4 to 6 or 3 to 6 reps. And then if you can hold it for more than 10 seconds, just go for 2 or 3. This isn't hard and fast. This is just a suggestion. You know, when I say 6 to 10 reps, if you get to rep 8 and it's total slop and you can't even lift your knee, you've hit your limit. That's fine. So as many reps as you can do pure and strict. Let's see. Review topics. We're trying to work this new space. Be honest kind of with how these rep ranges are going. We need really good active inputs here, so kind of be clean with it. Control yourself. We'll be back tomorrow to work on internal rotation. So work through these, find the best option for you. Let me know how it goes. Expect some cramping, expect a little bit of sweating, expect a new challenge here. You're using new tissue that you haven't really been able to utilize before. So give it a shot. Let me know about any questions, and I'll be back tomorrow.